This is Breaking Down Security, and I am Brian Brake. Welcome back, listener. This is Brian, Miss Berlin, and Mr. Betcher for Breaking Down Security.
Hello.
Hi.
Yeah. So how was everybody's weekend?
It was a 3-day weekend.
Yes.
That's how.
Yes, for us U.S. Americans, it was Memorial Day weekend. So
Right.
yes. I beta tested our camping equipment because we waited too long to actually get a campsite, so we're gonna go camping next weekend. But it was nice. It was like 80 degrees all weekend up here in Seattle. So
Probably better anyway. You don't want to follow the herd.
yeah, exactly.
That's why I go camping in July.
Ew.
I mean, so not July, January.
Oh,
No.
yeah, that's definitely not following the herd. You freeze your ass off. Yeah, it's complete 180.
Nobody's there.
Yeah, nobody's there. It's complete 180 today. We had 80 degrees and sunny, and now it's like we barely got into 70 today, and it's rainy and cloudy. So that's how Seattle is. So
Yeah, we had a lot of rain.
oh yeah,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, yep. Yeah, it's weird weather this year. The spring has been very mild up here. So all right, well, I'm going to go ahead and bring our guest on because I want to talk to her and pick her brain. She's somebody I've been following on Twitter probably for as long as she's been on Twitter, or as long as I've been on Twitter, and that's since 2009. So she goes by Jessy Rex on Twitter, and welcome, Miss Jessy Irwin, to the show.
Hello, thank you so much for having me. I have a lot of feelings and opinions, so I'm very excited to work through our little joint group therapy session here.
Yeah, very cool.
We're glad to be here for you.
Do we need to have a disclaimer? The feelings and much feels expressed are not necessarily the
Medical advice.
feels of our companies or whatever.
Right? No, no. Everybody knows I have these feelings. It's not a surprise.
Feelings. Well, you said something about working on your upper register. Are you going to sing?
No, probably not. But when I get ranty, I have to get up there in the right space. So
All right. So on your Twitter, it says you're the lady geek in the streets, sign bunnies in my tweets, security empress taco evangelist. Have you been to Austin?
Right?
Have you been to Austin?
I have. I've eaten a lot of tacos there.
Taco Deli?
I was not upset about any of the tacos that I ate. I was speaking. I had to go for South by one year, and trying to get tacos during South by is like not it. No, just no. But I went in April of last year for a conference, InfoSec Southwest, and I remember hanging out downtown at night, and it was like 2 a.m, and there was a taco truck, and it was probably a very good life decision.
Very nice. Very nice. Yeah, I plan on maybe hitting besides Austin or one of the D-Fair conferences down there next year. I need to hit up with my friend Mr. Betcher and go back to Taco Deli and Torchy's. So Torchy's is the bomb.
Yeah.
Torchy's, yeah.
The crack taco capital of the world,
Yes,
right?
it is. Yes, it is. So
Oh, there was this great article. It made me feel like I made the wrong decisions in my life. But there was a reporter who ate nothing but tacos for a year for every meal.
What?
Yes,
What?
it was a food reporter, like a food critic, and it's like the third or fourth time he's done nothing but eat tacos for a year. And I kind of feel like this is like one of my people, but maybe I could do a few months of tacos.
I feel like you should
not a
try and
full
work
year.
your job.
Yeah,
Somehow.
yeah. I feel like I need to become the expert in like taco security,
Yep.
Yes.
but on the red team side, so I can eat all the tacos when I like social engineer them out of whatever.
Austin is weird like that with the tacos. It's like when I first moved there, I was like, oh yeah, I went to this one place, and they're like, yeah, that place sucks. You don't want that place for tacos. I'm like, are you kidding me? That was good. Oh no, it's crap. And Kolaches is the other one. It's like, don't go to that place for kolache. I'm like, what? It was a good one. No, it's not. It's not.
Yeah, that's
I'm
like,
like, how do
that's
you
like when
know? What's your
people-
basis of comparison?
That's like when people tell me that like Chipotle has disgusting tacos, or Taco Bell is the worst. I think that tacos are just amazing in whatever form they come in, and there's a right place and a right time. So some days you have to have your emergency Chipotle taco because it's reliable and you know there's going to be steak in it. And
That's right.
other days you want to be terrible and you're going to eat those Taco Bell things with the nacho cheese and you're just never going to talk about what happened afterwards again. Like that's how it goes.
The taco walk of shame is what you're trying to say?
Yeah.
I
just always feel like death after you eat it.
I just don't get all the taco snark and like the general like food snobbiness. It's all good. It's all made out of delicious animals. Just like don't hurt, just appreciate, love it.
That's right. So we went a bit far afield with, we tried to bring taco security in, but so before we get on our topic, people who don't know who you are, maybe you could tell us a little bit about who you are and other than the fact you're a taco evangelist, and how you got to be an InfoSec.
Sure. So I first started working in technology 7 or 8 years ago. And I started out in the marketing and the communication side of the house. A long time ago when I was in college, I realized that I really love technology, even though I studied the liberal arts stuff. I was an art history major. And maybe there might be some room for an art history major in the middle of all of this Silicon Valley technology business. The easiest way to get in and to start exploring was on the marketing and communication side. But I'd say probably well before that, when I was in college, I had an interest in security. It didn't start out necessarily as networks and code and things like that. It was really the people side. And after being on the communications team long enough and always bringing up like, hey, what are we doing on the security side? How are we going to avoid getting a bad press cycle? What is our development team doing? Do they even sandbox, bro? After asking enough questions, I got myself in enough trouble to really specialize in the security side of communications. And I jumped over to being on a security team when I was at 1Password, yelling at everyone not to use Monkey or reuse their passwords. Mm-hmm. But it really started with me being interested in something and finding my own way through the skills that I value about myself, and making room for it. Because any other person who went to Virginia Tech with me probably would have been a computer science major and probably would have, worked for a big tech company. And I didn't start that way. I was in startups who had to make these really important business critical security and privacy decisions. And I got to have a voice in the table when I could at least say, like, this is a place where the economics of that decision for our business are going to make us lose business because customers won't like it, or they're going to give us a bad press cycle and that's going to cost us for a long time.
Very nice. Very nice. Okay, so the genesis of this whole meetup here that we've got, our podcast this week, came from a tweet where she says, security training is more than a phishing program. Security training is more than a phishing program. It's a mantra that she was speaking. And she added the Dark Reading Room article about the fact that cybersecurity training is non-existent at 1/3 of small or medium businesses. And so we started talking and I reached out to her and I said, hey, that's very interesting. We should probably have you on and discuss. And she said, no, I'm sorry, I can't come on. I'm going to give a keynote in South Africa and I can't make it. And I was like, well, that sounds like a fairly decent excuse. It's better than most. It's not like I'm going to be going to the Grand Canyon next week to hike. So, yeah.
Lame.
Yeah, that's a lame excuse, isn't it? Yeah. So she told me there was about 10 things that they should be teaching in corporate security training that misses the mark. So we were going to go through some of those and discuss in addition to the Dark Reading article. So the one thing I did have an issue about the Dark Reading article was at the very bottom, it's basically a company touting their education track, which seems to me that there was a bit of weight involved with that article.
Yeah, so that's always a problem for me. You tend to see these articles pop up in some of our industry, like trade rags, where you see this perfectly constructed problem that only their product can solve. It gets annoying. You tend to see a lot of these data-driven posts where someone will have a Twitter argument that turns into a poll, or they will go and email all of their customers who already have their own bias behind them, and then pitch all of these not exactly well-researched ideas out into the universe. And then we suddenly kind of all take them as a commandment or like a thing written in stone. I don't love seeing that. And also this one really got on me because I've done a significant amount of work with smaller businesses, and I kind of wanted to just smack the person who thought this was a good idea, because the economics for getting security training, think about this, security training, where you hire a person who does nothing but send out the emails and write the policy and that stuff, that's not actually a position that most small businesses are going to be able to afford unless they're in a very specific space in the market, like healthcare, or they're in a spot where they're a technology company and they have to comply with things. That's not something your average, 10-person business in the middle of Iowa is going to think, yes, we need security training for all of our wait staff and our small business. And, that's half an Etsy store, e-commerce, whatever. It just doesn't work like that.
Yeah. So, I mean, that sounds like a position that I've never actually heard at a company anyway. Most people are now outsourcing their LMS systems to third parties that, because they don't have time to make their own content or whatever. So, I mean, we are looking at a previous company that I was at, we were looking at getting an LMS up, and they basically all sucked. They were all security-based training, click, 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 5 questions and you're done. And you could always take them over if you didn't pass the exam until you got 100%. And they were Flash-based, which everybody, was laughing about the fact we had to install Flash to make it work. And nobody really learned anything. There was really nothing gained by doing that. It was, don't click on emails. Okay, done. I didn't even bother reading the slides. I would just skip to the end and do the questions. And would pass, obviously. So, I mean, what is it? The whole training industry that's broken, or is it just certain facets of it?
I think it goes back to the demands that security teams are facing within their organizations. If you have enough resources to hire a security person to do nothing but awareness, that's awesome. It's best when things are done in-house and you understand the culture of the business and you can have a really, really good idea of specific threats that awareness can actually solve within your organization. Mm-hmm. I think what we tend to see, though, is it's cheaper to outsource it. And we might agree with, 2/3 or 3/4 of the curriculum, but it's not necessarily presented in an interesting way that that your employees might enjoy or might pay attention to. I wouldn't call it a fight because I was watching the video and it couldn't hear me, but I've gotten in fights with some of the awareness videos because they give the most ridiculous password advice that you could ever imagine. I can't imagine any corporate security person sitting back and thinking any of these things are a good idea. And yet people buy the videos. And I think part of it really is there's a checkbox in a lot of industries that say you have to go through training. If you have one training person and you have 10,000 people you have to educate, you do have to offload some of that to course curriculum. But the curriculum right now it's boring and it really stinks. And it really shows you that a lot of the assumptions we've made about how people learn and then we've baked into technology are just fundamentally wrong.
Yeah. Not only that, but how people learn, but what are we teaching them as well? I mean, we think that by teaching people certain things that we'll get the results that we want. However, that's not necessarily the case. And even though it makes sense to us at the time that surely this is going to work, we don't put any science behind it. We don't do any studies as to whether or not this particular technique will work or this idea will work in the masses. I mean, we have good feelings about it, but in reality, and I'll give you an example, there was a show in the 80s called Scared Straight, where they would take these at-risk kids and haul them into the prisons and say, hey, this, if you keep acting like this is what your life is going to be like. You're going to live in this prison for 30 years and you'll have to answer to these guards and it sucks. And you'll just this is your home for the next 30 years or longer if you continue on this path. And everybody was like, oh man, these kids are going to, this has got to have an impact on their lives because now they're actually seeing what could result from their behavior. And so there was a behavioral scientist, a statistician, who actually said, you know what, I wonder if that actually worked, And so he took a baseline, kids that were acting the same. And then he took the actual kids that were in the show. And it turns out that what we thought would happen was actually the opposite of what actually happened. These kids were more likely to end up in prison for whatever reason. I guess speculating that, since they knew what prison actually was about, they thought that, since I've been there and these guys were, they were human beings too, and they actually lived there and they could lift weights and they got meals, they kind of felt comfortable with the idea, right? So going back to the security awareness thing, maybe what we are actually trying to teach might have the opposite effect if we don't do the proper studies on their effects.
Yeah, I think that's a really good point. Most people that I know working in security awareness are not the first people who are going to go and poke around soups or poke around some of the conferences that investigate how human beings actually feel about privacy or feel about security, and then figure out how to tailor that to their own work internally. I also think that it's really frustrating too, because a lot of the things that we end up teaching people, like we tell people, my favorite thing to fuss about is passwords. I'll always be fussing about passwords. They're just never going to die. If I had $1 for every person who told me that passwords were dead, I would never have to work again. But we tell people all of this stuff and we forget to at least tell them, hey, by the way, there's an easier way to do it, instead of coming up with this word that's like not really a word. It's got letters and numbers and like, I don't know, the name of your first grade crush and like the name of the dog that you love the most before like your parents split up or whatever. We put all this shit into passwords. We don't actually tell people, hey, you can just go generate passwords in a password manager. Like there are other ways to do this that don't involve memorizing 253 separate credentials every single day and spitting them out. And I think a lot of awareness education comes through policy documents and it comes through these online learning platforms. But we could just say, hey, like there's a whole bunch of security crap that is going to be really hard for you if we made you pay attention and learn how to be an expert the way that we are. So we're just going to tell you how to navigate through that stuff. Period. Here are your basic rules. Here are your basic strategies. If you're confused, email the team. We'll help you out, but go. And then see what happens, instead of giving people, 100 commandments and 23 different situations and threats that they have to know how to navigate through. Like I would rather tell someone, go use a password manager and set up 2-factor authentication, instead of make them literally become an expert in identifying whether a link in an email is real or false.
That's not their job.
Exactly. And
that's your job.
When we turn everyone into, someone who has to authenticate whether something is a counterfeit document or a bullshit email, like we're offloading all of this work onto users who probably don't really give that much of a crap and want to just go do their job anyway because their boss is breathing down their neck.
Yeah, and you hit on one of the points that I really like to make usually is that, they have to feel comfortable coming to you, asking questions or reporting something. They have to feel comfortable coming to your department or whoever it is. Otherwise, it's all futile anyways.
Yeah, I see a lot of like shaming based approaches to security education. And for some people, for a very small percentage of people, that actually works. I can think of a time in my career where I tried doing the proactive security education bit and it wasn't happening. So I did have to turn around and say, okay, how can I fish this team into compliance? Because they're not believing anything that I say, no matter what frame we put it in, how many cute cats we add to it. It doesn't matter if we have their, it doesn't matter if we revoke creds and don't let them into the repo they're supposed to be working on because they didn't set up the specific feature, like nothing happened. And sometimes you have to go the red team route, but that's not the way we should start out. We should start out at least giving people the chance to understand, like, this is a bad idea and it's not going to be a good idea no matter what you do. But I don't know. I think we're just not giving people a chance.
Right. And the multi-factor authentication, which is number 2, passwords is number 1 in our list of 10 things. our top 10. Would 95% of all those phishing attacks that have the link to say, go log into your account here and, download this file for us or whatnot, it's going to break that. Right. So we should be telling them, hey, use passwords with a password manager and use multi-factor authentication and provide them with multi-factor authentication in your own systems as a company that you build. Right?
Yeah, a lot of the password advice that we see is really, really awful. It tends to tell people they should change their passwords every 6 weeks. We've seen that one dispelled a few different times in research. But then when it comes to the multi-factor authentication, like we already know from multiple huge technology companies that if you set it up and you have your 2-factor there, account takeovers and all that nasty stuff actually decreases. And look, we have plenty of time to argue about S7 vulnerabilities and every other thing that makes multi-factor authentication suck, or stuff that we can improve to make it a lot stronger. But it's an example of where we can take an incremental improvement and we can actually use these things in combination to help our users not have to jump in and, field every single weird email that comes in. I mean, if you have strong passwords, you have your multi-factor set up, and you have something, say you're able to have egress filtering, or you just really aggressively scan for spam in your system, like that helps. That's more energy that your user doesn't have to actually spend trying to get their job done. We have a lot of technological stuff we can do from our side where we don't have to say like, oh, by the way, these are the situations where you want multi-factor authentication, choose wisely. We can just go in and set it up and say, yeah, if you don't use it, you're not going to be able to get access to something. Or if you don't use it, you're going to be much more likely to have bad stuff happen. Instead of saying like, oh, this guy totally broke in and stole all these photos and like wiped this account clear. Aren't you so scared? Like, just tell people, hey, set this up. We don't have to scare you. Like, just get it going from the beginning and we can skate right on through and you can do what you need to do.
Yeah, there doesn't have to be a test on why multi-factor authentication and strong passwords are good. Just set it up and require it.
The other thing that's really frustrating is sometimes I see this happen with well-meaning security people a lot. There will be a training session or there will be an awareness video that gets made in-house. And instead of talking about why something works, they talk about all the things that can go wrong, because it's a very security thing to do, right? Like we want to be transparent and we want to be honest all the time. The problem with that is we tend to start out with the bad stuff first.
Yep.
And that's also the stuff that is not very empowering to users. If the
it's
user
that hacker mentality we all have, right?
Right. So if we start with that stuff, and that's the opposite of what the user needs to hear to actually be successful at doing what we want them to do, how do we expect things to get better? If we give them a little bit of a rosy glasses outlook, we can say like, hey, look, these hacker guys, they're great. They're smart. They're probably going to come and get us all, but you can actually be a few steps ahead of them if you just follow these basic rules instead of learning the entire universe of information security threats and breach vectors and all the other crap that we as professionals need to have memorized.
So it sounds like you want to keep the message positive versus negative.
Yeah, you get a lot more out of positive reinforcement. And I'd say like a lot of the corporate training videos I've had to sit through and watch, they're not positive or negative. They're just there.
Yeah.
And if you have to pick a point of view or a side, like, yes, as an industry, we're struggling in some places and we're failing in other places, but everybody doesn't have to know that. We don't have to tell everybody what's wrong right up front all the time and then discourage them from being on our team. If we're just kind of like, yeah, come join our party. We're a little crazy. On Tuesdays, we get donuts. On Thursdays, we try to break into, the CFO's business. That's fine too. It needs to be much more of a welcoming party, and we need to really be in a land grab to get everyone excited about what we do, not the other way around. Requiring everyone to be an expert takes way too much energy, and our salespeople and our marketing people and all the other teams we work with really shouldn't have to become security people to do their job. It should be something that's so natural and we make it so easy. It's just a natural part of their job they're used to doing.
So,
Yeah.
so for all of these 10 things you've mentioned here, how many of these could not necessarily be training, but just something that's put in by policy that you don't need to put training on?
There's plenty of stuff. I would say in terms of it really depends on how you set up and you provision devices. If you're a small business of 5 to 10 people, you might have to know how to do a whole bunch of security stuff by yourself, or you're going to have to call your neighbor who's really good at IT and who helps out once a month when you need to update stuff. That's reasonable. I would say though, if you're able to structure things in groups, in a group of 10 and just set up like guiding rules, that's fine. For passwords, you can just say, you know what, here's what we'd like to see, but actually use a password manager. Oh, by the way, when you're logging in, you definitely have to use the multi-factor thing. It's basically a second password that changes every 30 seconds. It's pretty cool. Try it out. For things like safe browsing, you really need to train people, and you have to do a lot of work in making sure that plugins are set up appropriately and people can navigate the ridiculous like ad blocking system that we have right now. We have ad blockers that block the ad blockers that also block the other blocking ad blockers or something like that. That's kind of hard. And people don't like following security rules if they don't know how to navigate through a specific task when an obstacle gets thrown up in the way. Yeah. That's probably not going to work well for policy. But I don't know. A lot of what we can do, we can just set up rules in the beginning. Like, hey, if you're traveling and you have to charge your device, just bring your own cables. Don't use the thing at the hotel. Don't plug into some untrusted power brick that's in a department store or a bar. Like, just bring your own charging stuff. That removes so much energy and so much friction from the user thinking like, oh shit, I just need to go plug this in somewhere. Let me go somewhere now. Is that okay? Am I breaking policy? Is that thing I learned in the 23rd module, after the blue moon of 1972?
Yeah. Okay. So, would you add here egress filtering?
Well, I'm trying to figure out a number 10, but
I would say actually I have a number 10. So
okay, let's do it.
It's something that I don't like walking people through, but something I think is really necessary. We don't have any amazing education going on around backups. So I think that we have all this ransomware crap happening. It's expensive to set up a team and to have a program that just manages backups. I get it. But at some point, we really need to have a conversation to where our users can say, hey, like, does my machine back up? Do I need to do that myself? Where does the stuff on my computer go if something happens to it? Like, am I going to have to go find some Bitcoins or what's up? Yeah. So I'd say like, I don't usually go through backups because it's hard, right? Like, we want our people to back something up to a local device, and then we want them to back it up to the cloud. That's not stuff that the vast majority of consumers are going to be comfortable doing. If you're looking from a small business perspective too, like, that takes so much time. You're not going to probably be comfortable with a command line somewhere to set up all of these automated fancy things as often as you'd like to be. But at least from a small business perspective, if you have a good mind on your backups, you at least have business continuity going if the only computer you ever use is your personal /work computer. That can be the difference between being able to roll up to work on Monday or having to, turn around and go and file for bankruptcy or shut your business down or, lose a prospective client.
Yeah. So for small and medium businesses, and yours, small for you is 5 to 10 employees, and medium is what, 50 employees?
Yeah, that sounds about right. I consider a lot of the startups that I've worked for to be small businesses, just based on like, I had been at one company, I was employee number 3, and another I was employee number 4. So you're at the point where you have a couple of founders who are super technical but don't want to make any rules and want everyone to feel comfortable. And when you get to the 50 to 100 range, you're probably making your first security hire, and you're probably starting to realize, oh shit, people are using their work devices as personal machines. We're getting a lot of malware from that.
Yeah. So in that vein, if they're making their first security hire at about 50 to let's say 75, would they be really caring about training that early on? Because it seems to me like the security would come first, and then the security guy's like, well, you guys need to implement training. And then hire number 100 would be like, we need to hire some people who can help us with the training part. It seems to me a lot of the small and medium businesses or people who are burning through VC like it's Shark Tank time just want to get their crap to the market. And I put crap as being the stuff that they're trying to push to market. They're not really caring about stuff other than getting to market. The security stuff is all secondary. The training stuff is tertiary or even way down the line.
It really depends on what your company is specifically building and doing and who it's for. If you're, a really young tech company and you're going after enterprise customers and all enterprise customers care about is compliance, maybe it's not your first priority, but I would argue that the human factors and the culture factors are the ones that are the hardest to solve. So if you can start out with 10 things you want every employee to know, and they also happen to be 10 things that can help that employee, level up or improve their personal security, that's much better than just waiting for 3 years until, you have to hit a compliance goal or you hire a full team. Starting out with your first 10 rules is, especially if they're the passwords and the multi-factor and there's safe browsing things, that's going to help you out a lot more than when you're a bigger company and you have even more employees to chase down and track down and to solve problems with.
Yeah. So whatever you do as a small or medium business, to be smart, you also have to make sure that it scales appropriately, because whatever works at 5 to 10 is not going to work necessarily for 50 to 100.
Yeah. And sometimes you also can look at different teams and how their ability to be secure and doing their work is going to impact whether your business can continue or be successful. I mean, if you're a tech company and you're trying to build a financial tool, but your finance department keeps losing all the money to phishing people, how the hell is anybody going to trust what your platform's actually doing? That's a really big problem. We don't usually find out which companies get phished and when until someone, has a lot of hurt feelings and they write a really long blog about all of their Bitcoins getting stolen. That's happened probably 20 times in the past 3 years. But
I used to be rich and then I lost all my Bitcoin.
Yeah.
Sad panda. So one of the things late this afternoon that you hit me up with was there was a ZDNet article. SANS came out with their security awareness study talking about technical communications. And I posted a little something from the article, and I'll read it here. It says, the report goes on to say security awareness professionals with more technical backgrounds are more keen to recognize behaviors that might bring risk. However, at times communicating training is critical given that human interaction soft skills make changing risky employee behavior. They know what behaviors are most effective in managing those risks. However, the challenge is that these same individuals lack skills or training to effectively communicate those risks and engage employees in a manner that can effectively change behavior. So we get stuck in acronym hell because a lot of us come from military backgrounds. I know I come from a military background where acronym hell is a thing. POC, GTFO, STFU, GW, get back to work. GB, TW or whatever. So we come from that kind of background for the majority of us. And for the other ones, they just kind of pick it up as they go along. We're mostly introverts. We make jokes that, yes, if you recognize me at DerbyCon, it's because I've got bows on my shoes or something, or we're talking to ferns. And this article is saying that we're not wanting to get out there to help train people or to teach people the necessary ways to do this. How do we get out from our own way so that we can make more effective strides towards proper training of people?
I have a lot of opinions about this article. One of them is they say that, the technical people are the ones who might be the best at security awareness positions. I actually think the best thing to do is to reach outside of the security team when you have an awareness or an education problem. The smartest people in your organization who know how to change behaviors and get ideas stuck in people's heads, probably going to be marketing and communications. It's their... Nope. It's their job. No, seriously.
That's exactly.
For a second, the marketing team has to feed content to the sales team to get people to give them money. This is a behavior change for real. And if you think about the marketing crowd and the communications crowd, the reason that they're successful is they recognize that they have to be able to have a message and to make the point of that message resound in someone's head a bajillion different ways. You can't just say, don't reuse passwords. If you're the marketing person, know that you have to say it the positive way 5 ways, the negative way 3 ways, and then the joke way 2 other ways for it to really stick across all of the different segments that you're looking at trying to reach. Those are the people that we need to be really making smart about security and borrowing their time and their expertise and their design skills and anything else we might need to really get programs moving.
Yeah, that's exactly who we worked with as our marketing department when we created our user education. Not only do my design skills suck, but they were able to help not only with design but with wording and best ways to get the information out there, because it's not just the yearly, monthly, whatever training that you're trying to put it out in. You're trying to put it out in other forms, whether it be like newsletters or company website or meetings, what have you.
So the people who are in most need of our security training are the people who are going to be helped to create our training.
Yeah, totally. If we keep making security so hard that we can't bring other business partners in to help make it something that everyone cares about or at least pays attention to and maybe changes some bad behaviors for, what a hope do we have of getting anybody else to do it? If we can't actually partner with the people that we work with who share the same work culture and get a paycheck from the same place, what is the point? I mean, if we start reaching across the aisle to those people and we start really looking at how we talk about the defensive side of security and make sure that everyone doesn't have to be an engineer to be successful there, we might actually have a little bit more of a chance.
Yeah,
that's just me. I'm a little bit opinionated about this because I started out in the marketing and communication side of the house, but I have worked with thousands of people who don't work for a tech company. I've worked with kids. I've worked with teachers. I've worked with the old lady gang on my street. And I've found that it's really about being able to have the same idea and present it in multiple ways until it sticks. And the security team way of doing it doesn't necessarily help us out a whole bunch.
Okay. So the recommendation from the study was take communications training. They can be easily developed with the right focus. Who is they? Are they trying to say that security people can be molded to change and become like the J Streets of the organization, who are outgoing and can socially engineer people into understanding training, or what?
I think they're trying to say that your security awareness person can be easily developed, but having been on the communication side of the house, that's not a skill that you just intuitively get after 2 days and an offsite course where you get fancy lunch. I have led countless security executives through media training, and some of them I've put through the same training 12 times. I've adapted the training every time to try to better fit the executive. But at the end of the day, if their nature is to be a little bit more closed and they think in PGPs and ZTRPs and 55 other, crypto protocols, that's all you're going to get out of them. And I think that, if we're trying to say it's really easy to make people good communicators, we're probably missing the point a lot. We should be able to simplify the security part so we can get the smartest people we have in the marketing and the comms realm to help us with this work.
It's a personality thing. I mean, I don't know, maybe you can, but I think it'd be hard to teach someone a new personality, right?
Yeah. I mean, it would be like Dancing with the Stars security version. Do we really want to see everyone trying to successfully, entertainingly cha-cha across the floor? I don't know. I see Amanda
I, for
laughing.
one, would like to see
No.
some of that.
I'm laughing because Brian just threw a towel at his cat that was meowing.
She won't shut up.
I heard.
She has a lot of feelings, and
next to my
She's
shoe.
agreeing. She hears this, and she's agreeing with Jessy, and it's.
She heard that the Fido Alliance. She heard the Fido Alliance was going to get some dogs, and now she wants her own authentication protocol.
Yes.
Right. Wait, didn't you have 2 cats in there? You could have multi-catter authentication, right?
Multi. Yeah. Oh my God! I think you're onto something.
Yep. Yeah. So we could teach people. We can't necessarily teach security people how to change, but can we teach users to change?
Totally. We just have to give our users an actual chance at being able to learn stuff. I mean, if you look at some of the most security critical tasks that we have that we put users up for, like passwords are one of the few places that users actually get any say in their security. If you go to a website, and I had to do this a lot recently because I moved and I went and I signed up for passwords. Like, I'm okay with my password manager. I will regenerate a password until it stays. And 15 minutes later, I was ready to use like monkey as a password and to move the hell on. If I'm mad at it because I didn't get the rules in advance and it didn't make it easy for me and my tools to navigate through, like how the hell is any other person who doesn't know this is important going to have, the stamina or the patience to actually get one word that works after they've been met with like the little red X's and the mad faces and like the you broke the rule 50 times. It's not going to happen. We have to really find out ways that we have to use ways and communications methods and content methods where we get people to laugh. We don't make them feel bad. We don't make them feel ashamed. We have to make sure that we're saying all the positive stuff security things can do before we say the negative stuff. And we absolutely have to not be so technical all the time. I mean, every time I see people arguing about secure communications methods, it's always, well, let's get in a fight about these protocols that we don't know anything about. The point's not really the protocol. It's what you're trying to accomplish and what you're trying to defend from. And you don't need to know the whole history of war and peace in the world and every universe that might have ever existed just to get through a task correctly. So if we simplify it, we make it a little bit funny. I don't know, maybe we have some more like pop culture fiction moments where we get a good laugh. We might give users a little bit of a chance. But I think right now, a lot of the here are all the ways it fails before you even get started, it's not helping us at all.
Okay. So it sounds like you're a big fan of creating training inside the company using what I would assume employees as actors in your training. Would that be so? A lot of the issue that is people don't want to take time to do that. Is it a lot less time intensive to do? And how often do you have to redo these things, these scripts and your trainings? I mean, if you have to redo them every year, what benefit do you get from taking the time to do the training and the actors and the scenarios and stuff inside for everyone else?
I'm not necessarily a fan of doing things in video format or creating them in-house. I mean, what happens if you have 5 employees and then they all quit at the same time and move to another company, but you're reusing the same training thing? That sucks. And we are seeing vendors who are coming up with like funny, thoughtful videos where they let a security team, add in bullet points and things that comply with policy. That happens. But what I think is actually most effective is keeping an eye out on pop culture stuff. A lot of the best moments I've had, especially working with teachers, have been like finding a silly GIF from the Kardashians where they got in a fight about, breaking into someone's email account because they knew that they reused a password. It was about, the time that somebody pissed off Kylie because they figured out she was geotagging tweets and that was a huge privacy problem. Stuff like that. If Kim Kardashian knows that basically every dude on this planet reuses passwords, like that tells us something, especially when she makes a good joke out of it and everyone has a laugh on her TV show. I might not be like the biggest Kardashian fan, but I think it's really important to look at the pop culture moments where we can make a joke or we can use that moment as an analogy. Like I love watching Jurassic Park and making bad dinosaur security jokes. But sometimes it works. Sometimes it helps. If we can do more of that and take all of this crazy, abstract, super hard, like pie in the sky, ghosty stuff and make it actually real to people, I think that really has a much bigger effect than some dude on a video just like reading you in slow words all of the rules of his people.
Right. So, I mean, for like example, you mentioned Jurassic Park. Are you talking like the original one with Wayne Knight being the insider threat?
The like original, yes, that one. Oh my gosh, that one is so rich with security examples. I mean, for one, like if the billionaire spared no expense, Why were there not separate gate systems? Because if one gate system failed, but the other gate system was like totally fancy and brand new and like a different manufacturer, great. Like the first one failed, but the second one works. Cool, no big deal. We have air gap systems that don't rely on each other.
Yep.
I also get really upset. There's this one dinosaur terrarium scene in Jurassic World, and I just don't know who threat modeled the dinosaur terrarium, because who puts in windows big enough that if broken, the flying dinosaurs can fly out of? Who did that? Like, where is the extra layer of defense?
They don't make chicken wire that big. They are giant flying chickens, aren't they?
But like some of them were little dinosaurs. So what if you had the big windows and then you had like the chicken wire exoskeleton? They would be stuck in. The dinosaurs would have to learn how to eat metal and fly through it and not get all scratched up. And your passwords would be way safer.
Then you wouldn't have a good movie.
Yeah, I was going to say, I tell my wife, this is Hollywood. They have to have a script. Otherwise, it's like 12 pages and nobody's going to watch it.
They have to have fails.
They have to have fails.
But that's the point, though. If they have to have fails and we have all of these super expensive, fancy actors like prancing around and doing the fails for us, why not say, all right, I'm stealing this. This belongs in my curriculum, or like, this is a totally important video. I can shoot out to my team of 20 people and say, oh my God, I watched this weekend. It's so stupid. But it reminded me I should really get better at this specific security task.
Right.
You don't have to have like a program that's all written up in a giant 200-page book to be successful. It's really about being continuous and keeping the message going. And you might get to a point where if you find a funny piece of content, or you every Friday make sure that you send out a security related email, other people chime in and other people start sending out silly stuff that they found too.
So like take a small 2-minute clip of a lady running through a house away from Leatherface, and if she'd have just bothered to shut and lock the doors, maybe she would have survived.
Totally.
So don't allow piggybacking.
Yeah, that's a really good one, actually. If she had just like been smart and let
No, that's not a good one. No, that was awful.
No, think about it though. How many times in a movie has someone gotten in because they didn't lock a door, or they totally knew that they could social engineer and badge surf their way in?
Yeah. I guess so. Leatherface,
I'm just saying, if your company has a culture where Leatherface is a thing, that's a great idea. If that doesn't work, you can totally go for any of those awful office comedies that we've all had to watch at some point.
Right.
And you can co-opt that too.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, like Mission Impossible. Well, it would have been impossible if the correct security protocols were in place, right?
Totally.
So,
yeah, don't have that winch above your secret room where he can use that to rappel down.
Right.
Get rid of that.
Or those air vents that are like made of solid titanium where people can crawl through.
Yeah.
Wait, no, didn't
without collapsing.
Didn't Target get hacked because someone crawled through the air vents? I'm really confused.
Somebody.
Sure.
If you grease up the HVAC tunnels, then people can't slide through them properly or something. Put some no skid or something. Yeah.
And they can't plug in any USB things either. No.
Yep. I saw some of those on Amazon. They have they're little bitty clips that you can put inside the USB connectors, and you have to have a special key to get them out. I don't know how effective they are, but
I've never seen that before. I feel like there's probably someone with a magic key. I tend to just favor my sync stop a lot and not really use a lot of USB things unless I have to. You never know when somebody intercepted your mail and totally put in some malware infected nasty one. I'm just saying.
Yep. So
That's why I don't read many of my email.
Yeah, I don't either.
If you don't read your email, you won't get fished.
Yeah, marketing at whatever company I work for just goes to the round file folder all the time. So yeah, I probably should reach out to the marketing people now. I feel bad. So help me with training.
Once I had a team that didn't know that their security wasn't working for 2 years.
What?
Wow.
Yes, they kept wondering. What? They kept wondering why people were going full disclosure. And I was like, all right, well, there's no vulnerability disclosure policy. So that doesn't help you, but also security doesn't work. It bounces. Why would it bounce? Is your security so good that you can't accept emails because they're broken or something? I just don't understand.
Yeah, that's awful. Yeah. Yeah, you got to make sure your distribution lists work properly or it's spelled properly. I actually had a customer that spelled security wrong, so they weren't getting their emails. So it was like security at, and they forgot the T at the end. So every time people would try to email them, they wouldn't get anything.
Well, IT people, developers, they all write at an 8th grade writing level. So
you're part of the problem, sir, not part of the solution. So it tells me, the show notes tell me that you're writing a book.
Yeah.
Why are you writing a book? It seems like we've gotten a lot of authors on recently.
So I'd say the first reason I decided I needed to write a book was kind of silly, but from the time that I read my first book as a 4-year-old, I remember being like, all right, I got to write one of these. I've been looking for something I cared enough to write about. Like I don't aspire to be like Jane Austen. That's not going to happen. I don't have any good sassy lady stories to tell. But I realized when I was poking around and learning about security, a lot of the books are super technical. There are maybe a handful of really good security education books that will help you get a program started. But there's nothing that really talks about like drop the whole like we're at work and I have to teach you security stuff. There's nothing that really focuses on how we can get better at talking to human beings, whether, they are kids or whether they're the old ladies down the street or they're the people that we work with day to day. Even, if we're at a party that's not work related, we don't have good ways and really good models for figuring out what incentives people care about most and how we need to really focus on personalizing some of the security issues we're trying to solve so that our users care about changing their behavior. So I realized this a while ago and I didn't want to write a book because I felt like everybody already knew this stuff. And after having to go to a bajillion conferences and having someone poke at me for a good 6 or 8 months via email, I said, all right, I'll do it. Fine. This will be like my one book I write. I'm about 40% through it. So we'll see what happens. I might have a surprise ending. Who knows? But I felt like it was something that we could all benefit from. If we're able to really get people to understand that the technology we use isn't magic and they can be super smart and work hard to learn this stuff too, even if it's walking their way through a security task, they can be part of team security too.
Very nice. Okay. Well, if you need somebody to write a forward, I've been turned down at least by one person who was writing a book recently, who didn't hook me up with a forward. So I'm not naming names.
Brian, you know what this is?
Yes, I know what that is.
World's smallest violin.
Yeah, it's the smallest violin playing the saddest song. Thank you. No, that's fine. Just don't come to me for second edition, all right? You just go back to the same trough you pulled from.
Wait a second, though. Wait a second. Doesn't second edition mean that first edition totally sold out, so they had to do a reprinting with some updates because it's that important? Like, wouldn't you want to be in the super important next run of the book? I don't understand.
Oh, I wouldn't say no, but apparently somebody's already made that decision for me. So
they're printed on demand. So sorry. And my next book, it'll be the forward. It's going to be a children's.
It's whatever makes her more money. Apparently, you just weren't profitable.
Oh God, man!
Hey, you saw who we had. You saw who we had on the back cover.
Yeah, who was on the back cover?
Some important people.
Oh, that's true. Yeah,
Jack Daniels and the Google security lady. Now that I can't remember her name.
I don't have the back page because I only have the electronic copy.
There's a whole squad of Google security ladies, so we'll just pretend that it's the whole squad goal.
Yes, thank you. Thank you.
Right. All right. So,
Violet Blue was coming ahead my mind, but that's not who it is.
All right.
Selena Kyle.
Oh, yes. So we are far over our 1 hour time limit, sadly. But I wanted to find out if you were going to be speaking anywhere, if you're going to be at any conferences or conventions that we can meet you at.
let me think about that. I have to do security summer camp this year, so I will definitely be around for Vegas stuff.
Okay.
I'm trying to think. Did I tell anyone I would give a talk? I don't remember.
Okay.
But I just got home from South Africa. I have a couple of things in San Francisco. There's a lawyer panel. Apparently lawyers need to learn about encryption, and I am the person to help them figure that out. Right. So we'll see how that goes, but nothing until summer in Vegas.
Okay.
So
how was South Africa?
It was totally amazing. So first of all, I have to say I did the tourist thing and I went on a safari and it was the coolest thing ever. And I won't shut up about giraffes and wildebeests and lions and stuff. I've already planned my next trip. But the conference that I went to was an IT web security summit. It was a beautiful conference. All of the cool vendors that we actually like were there, which was really nice. But it was really cool talking to people who are in a developing economy, who are putting money and they're putting a lot of effort and work into building their own technology industry. I'm hoping that by a lot of us making the effort to reach out to the more emerging economies, we can just have them skip like whole classes of failure that we've been through and make them not repeat the same mistakes.
Sure.
So that was pretty interesting. Plus, there are a lot of really smart people, and I learned that South African people absolutely have a section on every menu that is a grill. So there was steak, there was ostrich, there were chicken livers. I did not partake, but everything was a grill and everything was delicious. And awesome. I even found tacos, but I did not eat the ostrich tacos.
Why not? It's like big chicken, right?
I mean, I was hoping that I got to see an ostrich when I did the safari thing. And I figured if I ate it before I went on the safari, it might like attack me or like peck me to death for like eating its cousin.
Karma.
Yeah.
I hear you can ride them.
Yes.
Really?
Yes.
Yeah. There was a joint up here in Seattle that had like ostrich and camel races.
Oh my gosh.
There is a comedian. Oh, go ahead.
Down in San Diego, they have ostrich farms that sell ostriches and emu for meat. But yeah, you can race them. They do races. They have saddles and stuff, and they ride.
What?
Them. Yeah.
Oh my god.
Won't they turn their head around and just peck your face off?
No, they're very scared.
I'm going to just pretend they're dinosaurs. And like, if I can do this in South Africa and be all Mad Max about it, that's my best life.
Yeah. I mean, hopefully they keep running in the opposite direction if you fall off, because if you turn around, they could disembowel you. But they got claws, like,
I really think we should just get everyone together and have a safari con of like the smart fun people and like just go see the animals and hang out, and I don't know, like we just do our security talks at night around the dinner table or something
to the roar of lions on the Serengeti.
That would be amazing.
Totally.
Yeah. I've wanted to go to Kenya. I always thought it was a nice place to be. So Bob and Tom sounds like morning zoo stuff. Anyway, so
listen to that later.
You're going to be at summer camp. Are you going to DerbyCon or anything? Because I'm trying to do a segue here.
Oh, I hadn't planned on going to DerbyCon. I missed the tickets because I was out of the country.
Well, I'm glad you said something, because we actually have some tickets that we're planning on giving away on our show here. We have 2 tickets, possibly 3 if Miss Berlin gets her talk accepted at DerbyCon. She assures me, wank wank, that's going to happen.
It's totally going to get accepted.
She knows a guy who knows a guy. So
yes,
yeah,
right.
So we've got 3 tickets that we're going to give away. We're currently in the planning stage for our CTF. We're also going to do an auction. We're probably going to give that away to some kind of charity, international or otherwise. And then a third one, we're gonna figure out what we're gonna do with that. Either we're gonna do another auction or something and give that away. Because Mr. Betcher and I both have training. We're gonna be at various trainings there for DerbyCon, so we all get tickets for that. So yeah, if you want to try to get a ticket for DerbyCon, you can join our CTF like we did last year. We're going to be doing some different stages. Mr. Betcher's working on some stuff. We've got Tyler Hudak, who's going to be helping us with some binaries and some malware type escapades. We got some OSINT stuff that Miss Berlin's working on. I'm going to just I'm gonna do something. I don't know what I'm gonna do yet. It's probably gonna
You can help me with all the OSINT stuff I have to create.
Okay, I can try that. Yeah.
Are you? I feel like he's dreaming up some sort of like stunt hacking contest. No,
it's not that. Okay. No.
Okay, I just had a social engineer in check. So
yeah. No, we don't.
I don't have any good stunt hacks right now.
We're not gonna make people jackpot ATMs or make.
Wait a minute.
or traffic lights change or anything like that. But we're just gonna try to make it fun, and it's a free ticket. So if you win, you get it. So yeah, that's it. So if people outside of Hacker Summer Camp wanted to contact you, how would they go about doing so?
The easiest way, I'm most responsive on Twitter unless my quality filter is a jerk, and then I apologize in advance, but I have open DMs. Okay. My email is basically a trash fire, so if it's an emergency, don't do that one ever at all.
Okay, at trash fire is not good. Okay.
Yeah, not good. I have to say, as much of a pain in the butt as some of the encrypted comms can be, I have no problem if someone wants to figure out how to use Signal, grabbing a burner device and talking through there. But they have really good docs, and please don't send me PGP stuff ever. It's just not happening. I think I lost my key. So, okay. Yeah.
Okay. All right. Well, yeah, we tell people that we'd love to have them back on, and we really mean that. So if you have any other content or topic you'd like to discuss with us from a leadership or training perspective, we'd love to see you on. And maybe when you finish your book, we'll have you on as well.
Next time I get feelings. Totally.
Okay. Right on.
Totally. I have a lot of feelings though. And if somebody comes up with some more like ugly password rules, I don't know. That'll happen like next week. We'll see.
Purple Monkey dishwasher is still my favorite, by the way.
Of course, battery staple.
Yeah, that's a staple.
Yeah.
Yeah. Mr. Betcher, you've been stoic for the last 5 or 10 minutes here. How would people get a hold of you if they wanted to discuss malware or training or, LogMD?
Well, they can just hit the malware Slack channel that you have.
Ooh.
That would be a good place.
Since you've pushed that button, go ahead and mention the Slack channel, please.
Well, I thought I did, right?
There is one.
How would people sign up for said Slack channel? Killing me, dog.
What do you mean?
How would people get to it if they wanted to sign up for it? This is the test.
BrakeSec.signup.team.
That's right. HTTPS.
What are you testing me or something?
Come on. Yes, I am. Because you're almost 0 times a day.
You guys are fancier than I am. I have a Slack, but you just have to DM me and be nice to get in.
Oh,
wait,
yeah.
Do we all have Slacks? Are we communicating with other people through Slacks instead of email and Twitter?
Oh yeah,
and bird signals.
Well, people are trying that Mastodon thing, but I'm just not in on.
I gave up on it.
I can't even. I mean, I'm sorry. The Raptors ate the Mastodon in my department. It's not happening.
Well, okay then.
It was a novel idea.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's another niche thing,
Yeah.
So, breaksec.signup.team. Mr. Betcher, Twitter. What's your Twitter?
At BetcherPwned.
At BetcherPwned.
And my website, log-md.com. LogMD.
Cool. All right. Miss Berlin, last but not least, how would people get a hold of you?
My turn. On Twitter mostly, or on our Slack channel. At InfoSister, INFOSISTIR.
Yep.
All that's in your book, right? So if they just buy the book, they can get a hold of you.
Yes. That's right.
Yeah.
Book's doing well still.
That's good. I'm just assuming everybody that listens to our podcast already has a copy.
You sold that many, huh?
Wow.
We're up almost over 2,000.
Nice.
It's been a month.
That's awesome.
A little bit over a month. Yeah.
Very cool. We're like Oprah. We do like we got the bump.
Yep.
So,
yep.
Yeah.
Oh, like you got the book club thing going on.
Yeah.
Yeah. I need like the little approved by sticker.
Yeah. As a matter of fact, we did the Eurozone.
Oh
We did the Eurozone book club today at noon Pacific time. It was 1900 UTC. So we had about 3-4 people on talking about chapter 10, which was about Windows infrastructure. We didn't get through the whole chapter. We do have a U.S. version, which happens on Monday nights, but the Eurozone people can't get to the Monday night one, so we have one during the U.S. workday. So we have some people on for that. So if you're in Europe and you want to join a book club, we have one running. So it's on our Slack. We also have channels for malware and reverse engineering. We have a job board. Our CTF club was supposed to be going on right now, but because of the way that Zoom is set up, you can't run 2 different web conferences on the same account. So I
found that out.
I screwed the pooch on the CTF club tonight. So I'm sorry, gentlemen, ladies, for that.
Oops.
Yes, I know.
So I'm assuming it's not the same link then.
No, it's not the same. It's a different link. But all they got was, hey, Brian's already in another one. You can't run this at the same time. So I may end up having to get 2 accounts or something just in case we double book ourselves. So upcoming training. So we had such a great time with Matt. We're actually doing another training. Miss Sunny Ware, who I found out is apparently on Pluralsight, and she does stuff with CyberAce. She's uber serious training person. She does a really great job. So she's going to be doing a web application security, basically how to detect and prevent OWASP related web vulnerabilities. She's going to do 3 sessions with us starting on 14 June. The next one is 21 June and 28 June. Those are all Wednesday nights at 1900 Eastern Time. That's 7 p.m., which is 4 o'clock Pacific and 2300 UTC. The way you do that and attend the classes, you go to our Patreon, which is in our show notes, or patreon.com/BDS_podcast. Sign up at the $20 level, and you will be have a seat in the class. If you can't attend the class because of time zones or what have you, we'll have video available. And what you'll do is pay $9, and you'll be able to follow along with the class. Like right after we get done with the class, the videos will become available to you at the $9 level. You'll also get a lovely tote bag and a director's chair. I sound like PBS right here, man. I don't know what's going on. If you sign up at the $30 level, you'll get a brand new album. Yeah. So, but if you don't want to do any of that, you'll just wait a week after the class is done, and we'll just release all the videos for free. But yeah, it's going to be a great class. I've looked at her slides. She's doing a really fantastic job. So if you want to, sign up for that, there'll be information in our show notes. So we got a lot going on. I mean, we're all over the place. So iTunes, Google Play, tell your friends, because word of mouth advertising is very good. We have about 400 people in our general chat, and it's very active. So if you're looking to do some networking as well, join us up on our Slack. So official Twitter is at BrakeSec. I'm at Brian Brake, BryanBrake. And I think we're done for the week. Thank you, Miss Jessy, for coming on again. It was a lot of fun. I'm glad to finally have you on our show. You're somebody I've been following for a very long time, and it's well worth the time. So
that sounds great.
Thank you.
Yeah, right on. So
all that stalking paid off, huh?
Okay, but the question is, have you learned how to make a sign bunny?
A sign bunny.
If you follow my Twitter, you are aware of the sign bunnies. The sign bunnies are sassy, and they tell you how to do stuff.
Okay, I will definitely have to put that as a filter or something. So when the sign bunny comes up, I'll be.
I haven't done any of them lately. I'm just so full of feel. It's been a little bit. I think I had a couple sassy ones about generally not sucking at security, but I've done like a few hundred of them, and I have a tiny army of security bunnies coming after me in my dreams. It's terrifying.
But the ASCII art is very lovely. It's very nice. So.
Yeah, those are my bunnies. That's my crew.
Okay.
You have to learn how to make one. You should make one for the show notes. I'm just saying. I
will give it my best effort. I don't do ASCII art, so
I just assumed we copied and pasted off of one of your tweets.
Exactly.
I'll just do that.
Like, is it really difficult?
I'll just do that.
That's exactly how I do it. I had a smart friend. Who was very good at the viral stuff. Mm-hmm. She created that sign bunny, and I was like, I'm gonna steal it, and I'm not gonna post about Taylor Swift when I'm making bunny signs.
Yeah.
And it's been way too much fun. But I've noticed lately, like, some of the saltiest people we have in InfoSec are also using the bunny. So I don't know if I've done something good or bad, because sometimes the bunny gets like I get kind of scared of it.
Naughty. Yeah.
I'm not going to use it then, because the things that I would put in the sign would probably scare more people as well.
Don't be mean. Don't be cruel. Yeah.
Nope. I was already mean today on Twitter. I don't need to do it anymore.
I have to be careful on Twitter sometimes because I don't want to be mean, but I see someone will come up with the worst thing they could possibly put in my mentions. Like, I hate it when people generally call users idiots. Like, I get it. Yeah. Not everyone 1,000% understands, but like talking shit about users doesn't make us better at our jobs. And it sure as hell doesn't help us build better relationships with them. It shows like a huge empathy problem. So people show up in my mentions and they start talking shit about users or how stupid stuff is. And I'm like, somebody hold my beer. I got to get my Raptor on. Like, I have to go fight with this person on the internet. And like, I could be 5 minutes away from giving a keynote. I could be 2 minutes away from dialing into some stupid, important business call. And I'm like, oh my God, hold on. I'm going to be late. Somebody's being a jerk and I can't stand this.
Was there a lack of empathy there with the stupid business call?
No, generally my business calls are way too much fun to be serious.
Okay. All right. Well, let's end this on a high note. Mr. Betcher, have safe travels on your trip to the Grand Canyon and take pictures and, watch out for your personal safety and your OPSEC. Okay.
I'll try not to fall off a cliff.
Yes, please don't do that. Your wife would miss you and I would miss you. So
I would miss you as well.
Wow. Oh. She didn't wait. She didn't hesitate. Notice there was no hesitation there. Yeah. So that's true. That's real. So, all right, everybody. Have a great week. Breaking Down Security is out. We'll talk to you soon.
Bye.